Fires to our south have scorched about 200,000 acres. The flames destroyed more than 1,000 structures, and another 24,000 are threatened. More than 200,000 people have been evacuated from their homes. CBS reporter Kenneth Craig joins us from Carpinteria in Santa Barbara County, where relentless flames have forced new evacuations. Kenneth?
Well, Brian, there is no relief tonight, and certainly not here in Santa Barbara County, where, as you can see, the fire is still very much burning, and residents describe the situation as simply devastating.
Firefighters faced intense flames early this morning as the massive Thomas fire reached the city of Carpinteria in Santa Barbara County. Crews attacked the blaze from the air and the ground, but were unable to save every home. After almost a week on the lines, firefighters are tiring.
Talking to the firefighters that have been out here since day one, they've said that this has been one of the most trying and taxing fires and incidents that they've ever been on.
With the fire bearing down on Carpinteria, firefighters ordered hundreds of more residents from their homes this morning, many not knowing if their properties will still be standing when they return.
This road divides from mandatory to voluntary.
Kristen and Carter Hampton live just outside the mandatory evacuation area.
And what has it been like to watch this?
Apocalyptic, that's a good word.
It's a big fire. It's scary.
This fire crew from Northern California kept a close eye as the fire inched closer to this home. Across Southern California, wind-fueled wildfires have devoured nearly 800 homes and other structures. More than 200,000 people have been evacuated, but many are hoping to return home soon as firefighters are finally beginning to get the upper hand on the devastating wildfires.
Still, the fire here is only about 15% contained at this point, and there are about 15,000 structures standing in its way. Brian and Juliet.
Kenneth, I've got a couple of questions. I know the fires are not only affecting residents, but also students. And also, I'm wondering, I know Carpinteria is just, it's right there in the ocean. Have they closed 101 there, or is 101 still open?
I'll get to the 101 first. No, not at this point, but I can tell you earlier this week, as the fire made its way from the mountains to the Pacific Ocean down in Ventura County, that did happen, and they did have to shut down the freeway. At one point it reopened and has been reopened since. To your first question about schools, yeah, hundreds of schools across the region have been affected over the last week. Some 200 plus schools have canceled classes left and right, and now we understand classes here in Santa Barbara County, students might not be returning until after the holiday break at this point.
Wow, crazy. All right, Kenneth Craig in Carpinteria, thank you.
Why are these fires happening in California? I tried to explain to you that China owns California. They actually own all of it, and they also own Hawaii, but they own a lot more than that. They're coming in to destroy America. They're going to turn us into a third world country. I actually believe that Rothschild is basically the CEO of this planet, and he's just adjusting everything the way he wants, okay? And we are selling all our secrets to China as well, and all of these things going on. But I'm going to show you how they're doing it, how they're destroying America from the inside out. We did go over the Deagle.com. It's obvious something not good is going to happen to America. So let's start with this. The West Coast housing crisis drives up U.S. homeless numbers. Yeah, it's all part of the plan. China is coming in to get this property. So the homeless population in the U.S. has increased this year for the first time since 2010, driven by a surge in the number of people living on the streets in West Coast cities. Yeah. Rents have soared beyond affordability for many lower-paid workers, and now even a temporary setback can be enough to leave them out on the streets. Yes, they're getting us out of our homes through an economical way. Okay, so the study by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development revealed nearly 554,000 homeless people across the U.S. during local tallies conducted in January, up nearly 1% from 2016. So of the total of 193,000 who had no shelter, they had no shelter and were forced to live all over, including cars, tents, and streets. The unsheltered figure rose by over 9% compared to 2 years ago, 2015. Do you remember how we defaulted with China in 2015 in April? And so what they did is allow them the right to take our property. That's what's going on, okay? So in order to keep this kind of streamlined, believe it or not, it was getting too long. This is take number 2. So to increase, it's almost entirely due to a surge in homelessness in Los Angeles and other cities facing severe shortages of affordable housing, says HUD officials. The increase is almost entirely due. It's entirely due to all of the weather warfare going on, just so you know. Okay? So, overall homeless population in California, Oregon, and Washington soared by 14% over the past 2 years. It's being done by design. Okay, that's what I want you to know. Climbed to 23% to 108,000 in Seattle. And the unsheltered population grew by 44% over 2 years to nearly 5,500 Sacramento, California, which also had a 1-year increase of over 1,000 homeless people. Okay, kind of yakking on there. So let's get into, let's see. Let me show you. The U.S. gives China eminent domain over our U.S. property. So we do have to go back in time, people, okay? Of the 08-09, these things, these take steps. Everything that they do takes decades to put together. So we're in these, I wouldn't say the final thrones of it, but it's certainly not looking good, not boding well for America. Now, I don't know where Trump sits on this, okay? This is done between the Clintons and China. So they are definitely guilty there. So let's connect some dots today, boys and girls, to learn about the highest possible treason that has happened in this country. This is February 09. Okay, this is as real and as ugly as it can get. Number 1, China begins its covert war on the free American Republic in the 1950s by taking over much of the pharmaceutical drug manufacturing for American and British Big Pharma. Woo! I did not know that, people. That explains the over 100,000 Americans who die every year from taking their pharmaceuticals properly. And the whole pharmaceutical company, over 250,000 die from just Big Pharma altogether, okay, the medical services and all of that. So this is an outgrowth of the Rothschilds opium ring processing. There you go. By the British West Indies Company during the 1800s. Yes, things have not stopped. And it's brokered by the City of London and Washington, D.C. Number 2, arch-illuminist and Satanist Henry Kissinger, whom Putin claims is his best buddy, normalizes trade relations with China during the Nixon years. Again, it takes decades to do this goal of destroying America from the inside out. Number 3, eventual LDS Mormon Church, Hinckley, via the church-owned Polynesian Cultural Center in Hawaii, establishes a hard currency pipeline with Beijing, exchanging bank trade credits for CIA British M16 drug services rendered into hard gold and silver, while hiding behind the cloak of world religion. This is facilitated by the LDS Church, built and controlled the Shenzhen Special Economic Zone adjacent to Hong Kong. So when Hinckley is made LDS president, his first official visit as world prophet is to China, where the Chinese communist leaders give him a hero's welcome and a confetti parade. Number 4, Arkansas natives Bill Clinton and Sam Walton massively increased contracts with China's factories over 2,000%. This results in a tremendous imbalance of trade with China. Thanks to the Mormons' special economic zone, China's communist leaders began amassing incredible real wealth in gold and silver. Number 5, China purchases trillions. Here's what really screwed us up. It was all deliberate. China purchases trillions of dollars worth of U.S. Treasury bills and bonds, paying for it with gold and silver provided by the Shenzhen Economic Zone Exchange. I'm sure I said it wrong. Much of the U.S. national debt is purchased from the private Federal Reserve banks in this manner. Number 6, Dr. Jeff Tallenberger of the U.S. Institute of Pathology in Fort Detrick and the world headquarters for biologic weapons development successfully maps the genome of the 1918 killer flu virus responsible for the 1918 pandemic that killed millions. The worst killer virus ever to plague mankind is now ready to be used as a covert weapon disguised as a natural influenza mutation. Yeah, you know, these guys have always got diabolical crap going on in the background, man. That's just how they function. I'm just letting you see this. You have to go back in time to see it. So here we are, 2005. The Illuminati-controlled United Nations announces that the world is long overdue for an influenza pandemic. The H5N1 avian flu is wrongfully demonized as a cover. Okay, so it was a bioweapon. Whoops, knocking my stuff around. Number 7, December 2005, Chinese Defense Minister Chai Haoten delivers a speech to the Chinese military leaders outlining the inevitable expansion of China into Canada, the U.S., and Australia. This is 05. He justifies this because of Chinese radical superiority and thus eminent domain. To accomplish this, Americans would first have to be cleansed by means of a powerful biological weapon, causing 150 to 200 million American deaths. Yeah, what they're doing in California is not a sweet thing. Okay, they're getting rid of the Americans. China is coming in to take California over. The plan would be enacted after the symbolic Olympic Games, beginning at the sacred day of 888. That's interesting. Are concluded. China begins buying oil and gas futures, spiking the worldwide prices to historic levels. Number 8, March 13th, 3/13, 2008, a secret meeting is conducted for the U.S. House and Senate. Agents of the Club of Rome give a preview of upcoming events to elected officials who first swear an oath of secrecy. The traitors are briefed that the economy, here it is, will begin its collapse, all by design, in October 2008 and will totally collapse in mid-2009. As events unfold in 2009 and 10, which I was severely attacked in 09. I mean, there was definitely something going on there. They claimed that we had an AI come back through time travel and create Bitcoin. I don't know, but something strange about 09. I have to say, we could have been visited by some dark force of some kind. I mean, it was brutal what I went through. So as events unfolded in 2009 and 10, Congress was told of the real possibility of massive civil unrest and even civil war being waged. Detention camps constructed to imprison civil agitators. Number 9, in September 2008, as soon as the Olympics are concluded, China stops buying oil and gas futures while dumping U.S. Treasury bills and bonds. Gasoline prices plummet while the U.S. mortgage loan money becomes tightly constricted. Wasn't that 2008, our housing crisis? Was that 2008? Did I get that wrong? It might have been 2004. So the Club of Rome's agenda is being implemented perfectly. Yes. Number 10, in October, just as explained in March, the economy indeed begins its collapse, with mortgage banks going bankrupt as the Chinese dump their U.S. securities. This causes a worldwide rush to liquidity as money supplies dramatically tighten. I'm also going to bring to you the Russian side of how much property they own in our country too, okay? It gives you a better idea. So number 11, billions of worthless U.S. government bailout debt entries are given to bolster failing U.S. banks. These are worthless because China now controls most of the U.S. real wealth in the form of gold and silver. China refuses to continue investing credit loans to the U.S. Treasury. Number 12, Barack Obama is elected, promising change you can believe in to screw over America. Thank you. After taking office in January, Obama sends Hillary Clinton on a critical mission to China and helps write H.R. 45, a complete grab of America's guns. Ally Adolf Hitler, state leaders who understand what Clinton and Obama agenda with China is about, and they are seeking legal sovereignty to prevent the loss of property to a foreign power. Now here's the enchilada, number 13. China agrees to continue investing in U.S. Treasury bills only after securing the right of eminent domain to physically repossess foreclosed American private property. Think about the storm sales. Think about the 600 acres that China just bought in Texas, too, through the storm sales, most likely. That's why I was saying you got to be careful who you were selling your property to. It's China. So, foreclosed American private property. This move is the equivalent of an unconstitutional surrender following a bloody war. This also gives the Chinese military the legal right to use biological weaponry to clean up America all at once. It gives them the legal right to use deadly force in removing trespassing Americans from occupying Chinese real estate. Hence, the fires in California right now. It gives them the right to use deadly force to get you off their property. Connect these 13 evil dots, and this is what you get. So anyway, the feds grant eminent domain as collateral to China for U.S. debt. Sources at the U.S. Embassy in Beijing, China, have just confirmed that the United States of America has tendered to China a written agreement which grants to the People's Republic of China an option to exercise eminent domain within the U.S. as collateral for China's continued purchase of U.S. Treasury notes and existing U.S. currency reserves. The written agreement was brought to Beijing by you got it, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton the traitor, and was formalized and agreed to during her recent trip to China. This means that in the event the U.S. government defaults on its financial obligations to China, the Communist government of China would be permitted to physically take inside of the USA land, buildings, factories, and perhaps even entire cities to satisfy the financial obligations of the U.S. government. Put simply, the feds have now actually mortgaged the physical land and property of all citizens and businesses in the United States. They've given it to a foreign power, their constitutional power, to take all of our property as actual collateral for continued Chinese funding of U.S. deficit spending and the continuing carrying of the U.S. national debt. This is an unimaginable betrayal of every man, woman, and child in the USA, an outrage worthy of violent overthrow. I want to show you where they actually took over Hawaii and California. Eminent domain is the power of the government to take private property for public use. This happened too, without the consent of the property owner. Under our Constitution, the government can only take when providing just compensation for what they've taken. But who decides what is just compensation? All right, so I need to get into this part. The U.S. goes belly up, and China comes in and says they owed us $2 trillion in Treasury notes and another $2 trillion in actual cash money, which is now worthless. And we are taking the entire state. I'm going to end it right here. Well, almost. We are taking the entire state of Hawaii and the entire state of California in lieu of this bad debt. With the stroke of a Chinese chopstick, Hawaii and California, all the land and the buildings in those states are now owned by China. Okay, there you go. Now, real quick, because this is getting lengthy, Chinagate. Chinagate is about selling our technology through the Clinton Foundation to the Chinese. Okay, and you know what I don't like about what's going on with this is the fact that if the one thing about that Paul Begley interview that got my attention, that if it was being used as predictive programming, in the end of the article, he says, well, the NSA guy is saying we have to spend billions of dollars on our technology because we're so far behind, when in fact, we are creating technology and giving it to all these countries. So it's just another way, guys, to increase our debt so China can take more of the land. That's how they're doing it. The deeper in debt, the more land China owns in America. And you're going to see that Russia owns a lot as well. So lest we forget Chinagate, the most serious scandal in the U.S. history. Well, it's neck and neck. I'm just going to show you real quick. The Chinagate funding scandal plagued in the 1996 Bill Clinton-Al Gore campaign. Yes, it goes back in time. It involves the transfer of America's most sensitive technology, including but not limited to nuclear missiles, satellite technology, and apparently in exchange for millions of dollars in contributions to the 1996 Clinton-Gore re-election effort and the Democratic
Hey
National
folks, and welcome to another video from aplaintruth.info. I wanted to get today more into the directed energy weapons being used all around the world today. It's has been used in China, up in the Beast Fires, Fort Murray in Alberta, Canada, Gatlinburg, Tennessee, Madeira, Portugal, Santa Rosa, Sonoma County, Butte County, Mendocino County, Lake County here in Northern California, and now we have Southern California under attack. These are attacks, folks. They're undercounting the directed energy weapons being used. No one's talking about them except here on the internet, but you can clearly see they melt engine blocks, folks. There's no firemen on record talking about how these fires have started in Southern California other than blaming the Santa Ana winds. And I'll show you from the commentary, these ain't being caused by the Santa Ana winds. And they have the same exact profiles. They come in the middle of the night. There's massive kinetic energy developed, EMP powers taken out before the event horizon of the fires begin, or the torched laser EMP events of directed energy weapons have occurred. And it's all part of Agenda 21, which we'll get into a little bit here. But here they're rebuilding in the exact same footprint as the laser directed energy weapons targeted. So we're under attack. We're under attack by a government that is not our government. We need to stop the madness. This is from Matt Landman of the fires down in Ventura County. Same exact devastation. Trees still standing, torch fires in the middle of the night, melting cars completely through the glass, completely burnt. And this is all done by lasers. We're all learning about lasers now. We're all learning about the technology they've had available. But as you can clearly see from these pictures here, this is the same type of event horizons where one area is torched and the area right next door to it is completely fine, right along property lines. This could not be by accident. This could not be by just happenstance. So we're all learning about lasers, and now let's get into how lasers actually work. We had Michio Kaku, poster boy physicist, on the Today Show 2 months ago during Hurricane Irma, announcing that had 1 trillion watt lasers that they were using to manipulate weather. They admitted it on TV very proudly. Here you can see 1,000 watt lasers that are being used handheld to strip the rust off of metal. So different temperatures, and I want you to notice the different colored lights. I've gotten a lot of criticism that there were people reporting blue lights. Well, lasers don't have light fields. Well, that's not true. As you can see in this video, we have white light, we have purple light, we have blue light, and we have green light. And we'll explain that a little more, but it's all based on the type of temperatures being created with these lasers. Anywhere from 1/4 watt of power up to 1 trillion watts of power of these lasers. And you can see it cut right through. It's cutting through, but it's not hurting the metal. It's cleaning it off, but it's not hurting it. Here you see a pipe. You don't see the laser, but you see the effects. You can see it cutting right through, but it's not touching the wood. It's cleaning the metal, but it's not touching the wood because wood resonates at a different frequency, a different color and density frequency. So that's how you can tell the difference, but it hasn't harmed the wood. Now, if we look at this video coming up right here, we can see it again, torching and cleaning metal in very precise areas using a handheld device. So to use a laser of that power, they say you must have, all this weight and heaviness that would make it the ability to do that. But here we can clearly see a different temperature adjustment. See the purple light, folks, the reddish purple light. It's cleaning off of paper the ink. It is taking ink off paper, blank ink, using a separate temperature to clean it using lasers. This is how precise, this is how accurate, this is how they can do it. I'm showing you right here how they do it. It's been doing it for a very long time. It's just most of the population has been pretty ignorant. Here you see again different colored lasers. That's kind of an orangish purple laser there. So you can see the different colors represent the different intensities of the frequencies. Now watch this coming up here. We see once again it's cleaning the metal on a straight line, and this looked like just like the Santa Rosa fires. It looked like a laser had gone through a certain area, and then other areas were just left alone. And here they are just stripping metal, very easily done, and it's not even hot to the touch. Now check this out. Here's paper and a pencil, and you can see the writing on the paper. Watch what happens. They clean the writing right off the paper. The paper doesn't even move, and watch this. It even takes the paint right off the wooden pencil, but doesn't touch the pencil itself. This is using 1,000 watts of energy, folks. Again, you can see the different colors of these lasers, and you can see that sometimes you can see the colors, and there's other times when the light is not visible coming from the laser gun itself. Here you can see the purple with the white light. So again, they're using different intensities and different frequencies of energy and power. It's all about power. Here's a white light. You can see the beam. So when people said you saw a blue beam, they were correct. When people say there was no beams on lasers, they are correct. They're both correct. So the color is directly intensity, and they can use it with light or without light, depending on what the projects they're using it on. So it can be used either way. And it also can be used in very, very precise manners where they can dial in whatever frequency of the object they're looking at. Check this out.
But I don't have turkey. I kind of do. It's more like a tube of turkey, otherwise known as a wiener. So we made it about halfway through, so let's go a little bit slower. Cut number 2. Oh, we're close. Test number 3, even slower. And I think we've got a full hot dog slice now. Kill me! Test number 4, I'm gonna go a quarter slower than the last one. And this has got the focal point a little bit further down. God, the smell is really rank. That definitely went all the way through. The moment of truth. Oh, yeah.
So that's how precise it can be. And also I slowed this down because I just caught it on a very short clip, but it's very analytical as to see how precise and what kind of precision these lasers can burn through. So here is a laser being used to cut and surgically cut into metal here. It'll come up in just a second. So you can see how this is being used and can be used for targeted areas like California, China, Canada, Tennessee, Portugal. You can see how it just cuts right through.